Brittany. Happy Halloween. So today is gonna be a popcorn chat video, and today we'll be discussing Scream 2. And I'm actually dressed as a ghost bride, and these are the long sleeves, which it's like I mentioned that it kind of reminds me of Ghostface, of his costume in a bit, except not so much, but just a bit. So I'm still feeling just a bit scared after reacting to that completely intense and terrifying scene from the video you just saw. Because I absolutely just hate spiders. They terrify me. Like, ugh, you don't know how much. So, anyway, we're gonna get into discussing Scream 2. So, Scream 2 was directed by Wes Craven and was released in theaters on December 12th, 1997. And it's happening again. These killings start to happen again. Of course, Sydney, she seems to notice it. She seems to realize, like, okay, this is happening again. Don't sneeze. But, of course, when she talks to Randy about it, he says that it's probably just a coincidence. But when something like that happens, especially if it's somewhat near to where they were going to, because they were going to college, and because these were students that were in the same college as Sydney and Randy, then that is not a coincidence. And of course these killings were happening again, but it's not a coincidence, like I said. And of course, we see that she has a new best friend, Hallie, which seems like a really nice character, a likable character. And then there's Derek, and he seems, quite likable too. Although there are some certain parts where they kind of shoot at a certain angle of Derek, which you may kind of suspect that he could be one of the Ghostface killers, but turns out he's not. Now, in the original ending of Scream 2, Derek and Hallie were indeed going to be the Ghostface killers. And to why? Like, what would their intentions be? Or their motivations to, as of why? Like, I don't know. But if that had happened, I would have felt so bad for Sydney, because it's like, great, her best friend who she trusted is a Ghostface killer, and also her other boyfriend, like, since Billy happened to be the Ghostface killer in the first one, but since this one, who seemed to be a really nice and good boyfriend to her, and yet he turns out to be another Ghostface killer, it's like, oh great. Like, can't just Sydney get a break? Like, why does it have to be someone that she knows or someone that she trusts? Like, why does it have to be the boyfriend? Like, if you know what I mean. So it's like, oh no, like, I would have felt so bad for her. Like, great, first it was Billy, and now it's Derek. Like, come on, give me a break. But no, I mean, it was gonna be that way, but it didn't turn out to be that way after all, because some of the script was leaked on the internet, and I think that the ending itself was leaked, and since everyone knew about it, they had to rewrite it and reshoot it. And because Kevin Williamson had to do a lot of rewrites, a lot of rewriting it, I think somehow he ended up with choosing and deciding that Mickey and Mrs. Loomis were gonna be the Ghostface killers, but my question is, why did he choose them instead? I mean, that I don't know, but I think it was a good thing he probably did decide that after all. Just because with Mickey, you kind of somewhat suspect that it could be him. I mean, to me, there's some things where it seemed like, okay, he just might be a good character, you know? But believe me, there's just some things he said where I'm like, okay, there's some parts where he actually said and kind of did that I suspected him. But the one character I never even suspected at all, and that was this fake, news reporter under the false identity of Debbie Salt, who actually turns out to be Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mother. And I never suspected that. I didn't at all. Because to me, it was just like I said, so even after that was revealed, I was shocked. I was just remember being so shocked that I was speechless. I had no words. That's the thing, I had no words at all. And so I'm pretty sure that for those who did saw it when it came out that year, that no one suspected that reveal of Mrs. Loomis, I don't think anyone would suspect of that. So here's my question, and here's what I'm curious too, is that for those who probably saw the movie in theaters that year, and for those who probably reacted to that part, I'm just curious what everyone's reaction was. Did they somewhat, gasp? Like what, like that? Like, I don't know. Like, it would have been interesting to really hear and see everyone's reaction, whether if it was like that kind of shock of that kind of gasp, or whether those who were maybe still shocked but they were just speechless, and that there were no words and no sound, and they were just like in that moment, like, oh my gosh. And believe me, I remember even afterwards I was still speechless. I remember I was like, well, wait a minute, like, I have never seen his mother in the first one, and yet, like, where was she in the first one? I don't know. I'm guessing she was probably living her life, and I'm guessing she was probably maybe trying to get her life together, trying to, do what she had to do, or, you know what I mean? And I think after, when she found out that her son not only was a Ghostface killer, but that he was killed by Sydney, in self-defense. So I'm pretty sure when she got that news, she was, devastated for the loss of her son. But I'm pretty sure she maybe pretty much snapped, and she pretty much maybe just hated Sydney and wanted to get revenge that she killed her son. And so you can see that, and I would have to say that the cast who played the characters in the movie did great. And Laurie Metcalf as Mrs. Loomis, I say she did a really good job, because of course it's convincing that you can see she's this news reporter, but it's like, is she really? So of course it makes it look like, oh yeah, she's just this news reporter just asking Gail questions, and she's just somewhat bothering Gail, and so it just seems like that at first, like, oh, she probably doesn't really have any important part into this movie, but it turns out she does. She plays an important role, an important key to this movie, because we later find out she is Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mother. And so of course when she reveals to, I think her hatred for Sydney, and the fact that we see that she pretty much, snapped, and she's not really right, and she's pretty like, she's wacko, she's pretty psycho. So it's like, yeah, we just can see she is not mentally stable. And yeah, so but yeah, in other words, yeah, she really did a great job, playing this role and made it convincing. Like, oh, she's just this news reporter, nothing important going on, but it turns out it is an important role and key to the story, because of that, because of that reveal. And so that is like one of the most shocking reveals I've ever seen. You know? And so, yeah, you know what I mean? But yeah, it is. And so, yeah, I just love everyone's performance, and I love the music as well. And the music is composed by, I hope I'm saying this right, but Marco Beltrami. But yes, he does an amazing job composing the music for Scream. Well, pretty much in the Scream franchise, and Scream 2. So everyone did a good job. And of course, Wes Craven, he did even such an amazing job directing this movie and telling this story of how he wanted to tell it, and he did such a great job with that. And showing what's going on in this story between these characters and who we get to see die on screen and those off screen, and we could see that these characters are going through this again, but yet no matter how scary it might be, that that they're also looking out for each other, and that if something goes wrong, that they're gonna, that they will be there to they'll be there to like I said, so they'll be there no matter what. And of course we also get to see that Gail has a new cameraman, Joel, and of course even Joel, yeah, he's a good character as well, and there's some funny moments within his character as well. And I actually feel bad for him at some point, because after Randy got killed so horrible and so suddenly the way he did, that Dewey, Gail, and Joel, they went to the news van, to look for him. But of course, I think Gail, she saw the blood dripping from the van, and of course, it was Randy. He died, and it, yeah. So I don't like that part. That just makes me so sad. And of course, I feel bad for Joel after that happened, because as he sees Randy laying dead in the van, like, I'm pretty sure he was in shock, and because he fainted, after that. So I'm like, oh man, like, and yeah, so it's like I feel sad, so. But yeah, the thing is, I feel like with that scene in particular, I feel like that's the one thing I feel like that should have never happened, in part 2, because I just feel like here's Randy, a very likable character, and who had all these great things about him, and since he was the kind of character that you would relate to, and someone that you would like a character that you would feel like a close connection with, and someone, like, You know what I mean? So I just kind of feel like with that kind of character who has knowledge of horror movies and all that, and since he seemed to be a pretty smart character, then yeah, I feel like why kill him off? To me, it just doesn't make any sense to why his character was killed off so unexpectedly and so suddenly. Like, do you like it's just so sad to see. And but yeah, like that, I remember the first time I saw that happen, I was not prepared for it, and I literally was crying. you know I was just so sad. And believe me, even to this day, when I still watch it and see that scene, it still makes me sad. It still makes me feel like, no, like this should have never happened. Just trying not to sneeze. But yeah, that's just how I feel about it. That's just my opinion. But yeah, but and of course we do see Cotton, but of course I think there are some certain parts where you kind of suspect Cotton a bit, because there are some things where you see his face expressions of certain looks he has, and certain things he says where you kind of think he might be somewhat involved in this, but it turns out he's not. And I think that's what's best of Scream 2 and the Scream movies, is that there are some certain scenes where you kind of see the face expression of a certain character, so you kind of suspect them a bit, but then when it turns out not to be them but somebody else completely, then of course, it just kind of makes you think like, okay, you know what I mean? So I think that's a good way to somehow not really know who it is, but then once you get to know who it is, then it's like, oh, okay. And then of course, once there's this reason to, like, once we get to see what their intentions were and their motivations to as to why they were the Ghostface killers, then yeah, it just turns out to be, quite shocking. So I'm sorry, coughing a little bit. So yes, I love everything about Scream 2, just not Randy's death scene. No, I think what they should have done was kept him alive. I think what they should have done was like, where he does get stabbed, where he gets injured, but he survives, and he's like, he's a survivor, and he stays alive throughout Scream 2, and then we'll get to see him like in Scream 3, 4, and then 5. Let's say if we had seen him alive through the rest of the movies, including the one that's coming out next year, but let's say if that had happened, that would have been great, because I think so much more could have happened, especially with his character being alive and everything. But because he was killed so suddenly and way unexpected in Scream 2, then yeah, I just feel like things turned out differently without Randy, completely. And yeah, but like I said, that's just my point of view on it. But yes, I do love everything about it. I love how Wes Craven directed Scream 2, and I love the cast and their performances on the characters, which is amazing, and it's just enjoyable to watch. And I just love the music as well. And so yes, everything about this is just great. So everyone who worked on this movie, both on and off screen, just did an amazing job. So yes, and this is also my favorite sequel. Um, as well. So yes, like I said, I just love everything about it. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm getting a phone call. Oh, sorry about that. I think I was getting a phone call. But yes, there are some parts that I like, and of course, I also don't like how Hallie just got killed, as well, because she seemed a likable character, and I think we probably could have seen her in Scream 3, but I think somehow it was one of those things, like she was one of those characters that had to be killed off in Scream 2. And come to think of it, I think she got killed by Mickey because she was his girlfriend. You know, just kind of like with Stu and Tatum, how I think it was, oh yeah, I think it was Billy that killed Tatum because of the fact that she was Stu's girlfriend. So yeah, and the thing is, I love Tatum too, and I think she could have survived and could have been in the Scream sequels as well. You know, because I loved her character and her personality. You know, so yeah, and of course, there are some moments in there where it does get a bit intense. I think the one part that gets intense is where they're trapped in the cop car with Ghostface, and of course they had to slowly try to go over him, you know, out of the window on the driver's side. But yeah, that is like intense because somehow you're just thinking, okay, hopefully whoever is Ghostface, that they're unconscious and that they don't wake up and start pulling him and, you know, going all crazy. So you just kind of feel intense in that moment, like, oh, like, come on, hurry, just get out of the car. So yeah. Yeah, I do wish that Randy could have lived and survived in the movie and could have been possibly in the rest of the Scream sequels if that had happened. So, that is all for this discussion on Scream 2. And comment down below on what you think of Scream 2 and what you like about it. What's your favorite part or your favorite characters? Now the ending though. Oh, one more thing. Now, of course, Mrs. Loomis is quite psychotic. You know, especially towards the end, because she wants to get revenge to kill Sydney because how she killed her son in the first one. So yeah, it's like you can see that she has this crazy look on her face. So that was pretty convincing, and she did a good job playing that character. And of course, you can see that Cotton, even though he seemed like he was on her side, but really he did shoot her, and of course things were fine after that. And yeah, so things were fine after that. And yeah, so as you can see, all these news reporters are coming up to Sydney asking her how does it feel to be a hero. But then, since she knew that she did wrongfully accused him of killing her mother, because since she knew from Scream that it was actually Billy and Stu that killed her mother and not Cotton, and how they framed Cotton for her mother's murder because they did it, you can see that she has that look. And then she tells them, to talk to Cotton, and that he's the he's the hero you want to interview. So of course they all go up to Cotton and they start asking him questions. Of course he doesn't say much, but he does say at least what he did got to say to them. So, I think that was nice. Yeah, so of course I just like the way that it ended, but that reveal was shocking, without a doubt. So, yeah, that is all for today, and I really hope you enjoyed this. So yeah, and if you want to see more like this of movie discussion videos, which I call popcorn chat, then be sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, and share the video as well. And I hope everyone is having a fun and safe Halloween. Hang on a sec. Hello? What? Next year. On Halloween. Okay. Alright, fine. If you say so. You sound creepy though. It's Ghostface. Alright. See you next year. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. I just got this weird call. Believe it or not, after discussing on Scream 2, it was Ghostface. I don't know how he or she got the number or anything, but they said that that they're gonna call again next year on Halloween. And now the thing is, I will be doing this for Scream 3 next year, so if they happen to call around the same time on Halloween, then I think we'll just see about that. And plus, since Scream 5 is coming out next year, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're just being sneaky. Maybe they're just planning something that I don't know. So, wow, that's interesting. Didn't know Ghostface was gonna call, but he did, or she, or they did. Anyway, could be more than one. You just don't know. So I hope you enjoyed this popcorn chat video on Scream 2, and that is all for today. And I'll see you at the movies. Oh, and happy Halloween.